For most of my life, my accomplishments existed in my family the way background music does in a grocery store. Always on, never noticed. A few weeks ago, I decided to test that truth one last time. I typed the message carefully in our family group chat. An invitation, a National Public Safety Award, a formal ceremony in Columbus, a note that it would be recorded, that it would mean something to me if they came or even watched. I read it twice before sending, then stared at the screen as the typing bubbles flickered to life. That's where this story begins. The entire content of the video is a fictional work created by the writing team of the Revenge Mosaicum channel, intended to reflect common conflicts in families and society, helping viewers recognize their emotions and choose a more positive way of living. Lauren reacted first. A laughing emoji appeared, followed by a line about how those awards were niche things and how she already had concert tickets downtown that night. The words landed light, practiced, effortless. Mom's response followed quickly. Something about being happy for me, paired with a reminder that everyone had busy lives. The kind of sentence designed to sound reasonable while closing a door. Then my father weighed in. His message was shorter. He hoped I understood. He added that I shouldn't make them feel guilty if they skipped it. I read that line twice. No one asked what the award was for. No one asked how long the work had taken. No one asked why it mattered to me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard while old instincts surfaced the urge to explain, to justify, to make it easier for them to care. Instead, I typed one word. All right. I set my phone face down on the table and let the silence settle. If this story sounds familiar already, stay with me. And if you're listening from somewhere unexpected, let it be known. Quietly, stories like this travel farther than we think. I learned the detail that mattered most 2 days later when my mother mentioned it casually in a follow-up text. She wrote that they would already be in Columbus that weekend, that the drive worked out better than expected, that downtown hotels were cheaper than usual. The words sat there, unbothered. Lauren chimed in right after, excitement practically vibrating through the screen. She talked about the venue, about how close their seats were to the stage, about how the band never played Ohio anymore. Then came a line meant to sound reassuring. We'll celebrate you another time. You know how these things go. Another time had always been the family language for not now. I typed back slowly, asking when they were arriving. The answer came without hesitation. Friday afternoon. The same afternoon, my rehearsal badge would be waiting at the convention center. Mom added a heart emoji. Then a sentence about how proud she was that I had been invited to something so formal. Proud, but still unavailable. Dad's message followed, firm and neat. He reminded me that everyone deserved to enjoy their plans. He mentioned how rare good tickets were these days. He closed with a reminder not to take it personally. I read the thread from top to bottom, once, then again. They weren't choosing between obligations. They were choosing between me and something louder. I locked my phone and let that truth settle where excuses usually lived. Growing up, our house ran on assignments, even if no one ever called them that. My mother liked to joke about it during holidays, usually while clearing plates. I've got a performer, a comedian, and a problem solver. She liked to announce, smiling as if she'd cracked a harmless code. Lauren always took the compliment without looking up, already used to applause. Ethan leaned into it, bowing dramatically until everyone laughed. My role never came with a reaction. It just settled on me, quiet and permanent. At dinner, Lauren talked about rehearsals, auditions, whatever had captured attention that week. My father leaned forward during those stories, nodding, asking follow-ups, offering advice. When Ethan interrupted with a joke, forks paused mid-air, laughter landed exactly where he wanted it. When I tried to talk, the rhythm changed. Someone stood to refill a glass. Someone else reached for their phone. My words floated for a moment, then disappeared. Once, in high school, I mentioned an academic award from the state. My mother glanced up and murmured how nice that was. then turned back to Lauren. "Your recital is still on Saturday." "Right." Another time, my father reminded me to sign a form for Ethan's field trip, then thanked me for being reliable. Reliable was the word they used most. It sounded like praise, but it came with instructions. "Lauren needs support right now. Ethan's just a kid. You understand, don't you?" Understanding became my currency. The more I showed it, the less they asked who I was becoming. Somewhere along the way, I stopped trying to be heard and focused on being necessary. That shift happened quietly, without an announcement. "Can you fix the internet before your sister gets home?" My father's voice carried from the hallway one evening, already assuming the answer. My mother followed with a reminder about permission slips and deadlines, her tone light, efficient. "You're just better at this kind of thing." Lauren swept in later, distracted and glowing, dropping her bag by the door. "I'm starving," she announced, glancing at the clock. "Did anyone remember to preheat the oven?" Ethan laughed from the couch. "That's Evelyn's department." No one challenged it. I learned to anticipate problems before they became inconveniences. Forms appeared on the table signed. Appointments were remembered. Small crises dissolved before anyone had to feel uncomfortable. Each fix earned a nod. Sometimes a quick thank you, never a pause. "You're so reliable," my mother liked to say, already moving on to the next task. Reliable meant I didn't need checking on. Reliable meant I didn't need celebrating. Reliable meant things worked smoothly, and smoothness became my proof of love. The better I got at keeping everything running, the easier it became for everyone else to forget I was there. I found my place in emergency response systems because it rewarded the habits my family had trained into me. Quiet focus, relentless follow-through, problems other people avoided. During my first months on the county project, meetings moved fast and shallow. People talked around the data, not through it. I stayed late, pulling call logs apart, tracing delays no one wanted to claim. One evening, Dr. Helen Crowley stopped by my desk. Her badge hung crooked, her jacket still on. "You always take the messiest files." Her observation landed flat, not accusatory. The instinct to deflect rose immediately. "Someone has to clean them." Her attention didn't move. "That's not cleaning, that's understanding." She began inviting me into deeper conversations. Architecture, failure points, why an ambulance arrived 4 minutes late instead of 2. When I mentioned a pattern I'd noticed, she didn't interrupt. "Show me," she urged. We ran a pilot across 3 districts. Routing logic adjusted in real time. Hospital capacity fed directly into dispatch screens. Over 18 months, average response times dropped 11%. More than 120,000 calls moved through the system without fanfare. A dispatcher left a note after a brutal weekend. It didn't feel hopeless this time. I forwarded it to Dr. Crowley, unsure what else to do with that weight. Her reply came back measured. "This is why names matter." When a regional coordinator asked who built the core engine, Dr. Crowley didn't soften the answer. "It was Evelyn," she clarified. Put it in writing. Recognition still felt abstract, like something happening above my head. The work spoke in quieter ways. Sirens arriving sooner, screens lighting up clean, lives continuing without headlines. The email arrived between meetings, quiet and official, flagged with a seal I didn't recognize at first. I opened it expecting another request for clarification. Instead, the first line informed me I had been selected for a National Public Safety Innovation Award. The ceremony would take place at the Ohio Convention Center. The program would be recorded. Limited media coverage was anticipated. I read it twice before the words settled. Dr. Crowley's message followed minutes later. "This doesn't change the work. It just forces people to notice it." Congratulations filtered in from my team. Brief and sincere. Someone joked about borrowing a blazer. Another mentioned how strange it would feel to sit under cameras. That night, alone at my kitchen table, I scrolled back to the email. Halfway down the page sat a sentence that felt heavier than the rest. "You may invite up to 4 guests." I stared at it long enough for my tea to go cold. An old reflex surfaced, familiar and stubborn. Keep it small. Keep it quiet. Don't ask for more than people want to give. Then another thought followed, sharper this time. This moment would exist whether my family saw it or not. I opened the group chat and typed carefully, laying out the details without dressing them up. Location, date, time. I added that it would mean something to have them there. The message sent, and the screen waited. The night of the ceremony moved on rails, every step planned by someone who wasn't emotionally invested. A coordinator checked my badge and motioned me forward. Another pointed toward the seating chart. Your section is in the middle. Guests should already be there. I thanked her and walked in alone. Dr. Crowley caught my eye from the aisle and offered a small nod. Steady as always. My team clustered nearby, whispering about camera angles and how strange it felt to wear formal clothes for work that usually lived on screens. I glanced at the row reserved under my name. 4 chairs sat untouched. Programs rested neatly on the seats, folded and waiting. A colleague leaned over, voice lowered. Running late, I shook my head once. The program began with polished speeches and familiar phrases about service and sacrifice. When the host reached our category, his tone softened. Tonight, we recognize work made possible by families who stand behind it. The words landed harder than applause ever could. A short video played, dispatch screens flickering, maps updating in real time. My name appeared once, clean and unadorned. Dr. Crowley's elbow brushed mine. Grounding. Then the host read from his card, describing a system that had shortened emergency response times across the county. He spoke my full name and gestured toward the stage. As I stood, I caught one last glimpse of the empty chairs. They didn't accuse. They didn't explain. They simply stayed empty. The lights rose. Applause filled the space. I walked forward carrying everything that hadn't shown up. I learned later how it happened. The concert paused between sets, lights dimming while crews reset the stage. In the corridors outside the arena, the overhead screens switched to a local news break, the kind people half watch while buying drinks. My mother described it in fragments that arrived on my phone hours afterward. We were just standing there. Her message began, waiting for the line to move. Lauren's version came faster, sharper. They cut to some award thing. Your face was everywhere. The clip lasted less than a minute. A banner with my name, a caption about a county engineer honored for improving emergency response times, a shot of me at the podium, glass plaque catching the light. Dad wrote next. People turned around. A man asked if we were related to you. Another message followed before I could open the first. Someone clapped. Lauren added. It was surreal. No one mentioned the ceremony they had skipped. No one mentioned the empty chairs. Instead, the tone shifted. My mother's texts grew longer, breathless. We had no idea it was that big. Pride slipped into the words, rehearsed and sudden. Everyone was staring at us. Dad's messages tightened into certainty. You should have told us it would be on the news. As if information had been the problem. I stood in the quiet hallway outside the ballroom, my phone vibrating against my palm, and understood the shape of the moment. They hadn't chosen to see me. They had been forced to. By the time I reached home, my phone felt heavier than the plaque in my bag. Notifications stacked faster than I could clear them. Missed calls, voicemails. The family thread glowing like it had been waiting all night. My mother's messages came first, long and breathless. She wrote about how shocking it had been, how strangers kept looking at them, how proud she felt. She mentioned the screens again, the way my name looked underneath my face. Dad followed with shorter lines, clipped and practical. He talked about how important the work sounded, how impressive it must be to be recognized like that. One sentence stood out. You could have told us it was this serious. Lauren's texts arrived in bursts. I'm posting something about you. Then another. Just a throwback pic. People will love it. A third followed quickly. We always believed in you. I scrolled back to the earlier messages, to the laughter, the reminders not to feel guilty, the easy dismissal. The contrast sat there, unedited. A new message appeared from my mother, tone already shifting. A reporter might want the family angle. We should talk about that. I set the phone down on the counter and watched the screen go dark. Pride had arrived without apology, without acknowledgement, carrying plans instead of accountability. 2 days later, the messages changed shape. The shock wore off. The pride hardened into plans. My mother suggested a call to coordinate stories. People will want to know how we raised you. My father pushed back in his own way. You're overthinking this. We're proud. That should be enough. Lauren sent a draft caption, already polished. Always knew my little sister was destined for something big. I read everything once, then again. The familiar pull to smooth things over crept in, quiet and persuasive. The instinct to make it easier for everyone else to feel good. Instead, I typed carefully. I thanked them for the congratulations. I explained that I would be speaking publicly only about the work and the people it served. I made it clear that I wouldn't be participating in interviews about my childhood or letting anyone contact my colleagues. I added one more line, measured and honest, about how painful it had been to watch them dismiss the invitation and then rush to claim the outcome. The responses came fast. My mother insisted they had always supported me, just differently. My father bristled at being told what not to say. Lauren accused me of trying to embarrass them. I didn't reply. That afternoon, I updated my emergency contact file at work. My parents' names disappeared. Dr. Crowley's replaced them, followed by a colleague who had shown up without being asked. That evening, I muted the family thread until further notice. The silence felt intentional, not empty. If this story resonates, carry that with you. Pay attention to who shows up early, before there's an audience. And if you recognize yourself in any part of this, you're allowed to choose differently. Distance, when it protects your sense of self, isn't cruelty, it's care.